Hey there, wellness entrepreneur. Welcome back. Today we're talking about a continuation from last week's episode. Last week we went over a lot of strategy on how to grow your audience on Instagram and convert that audience so you can transition from brick and mortar clinic. If you want to go 100% all in on an online business, if you want to do like 80% brick and mortar, 20% online, 50-50. You get to decide, but there's so much power when you have the ability, the business skill to grow an audience, especially if you're going to be promoting an online wellness program. You want to have an online audience that is seated and prepared for a program that you want to offer. So there's so much power in developing an audience. Specifically, we're talking about Instagram because it's free. And I just see myself, I've signed a lot of clients off Instagram, and my clients sign clients off of Instagram. There's so much potential. Now, I do sign clients off of Facebook too. So some of this strategy can be used for Facebook. But I find that Instagram, it lends a little bit easier for conversion and business type conversations where Facebook is has a different vibe. So again, these strategies, last week's strategies can be used for Facebook. It is just a little bit different when you're going all in on one platform and really seeing that growth, and then you allow it to trickle over into other platforms like Facebook. This week, what we're going to go over is the mindset that'll be the fuel to all those strategies. So, for example, when you listen to the strategies in last week's episode, what thoughts came up in your mind? Did you have doubts like, who am I to say these things? I've never grown an audience before. People don't really like and engage with my post. I don't really think what they like what I have to offer. Or maybe you're fearful of criticism or judgment, like someone in your field or will come over and say, your information isn't correct. That's not necessarily the best way to help people um, optimize their hormones so they go through menopause with less struggle, for example? Or are you afraid of criticism or judgment from past employees that you used to work with? And they're like, oh, look at her. She's out on her own doing this thing and that thing. Are you afraid of fear and judgment for your family? Or maybe you just don't think you have enough time, that it takes a lot of time to actually grow an audience and convert that audience on Instagram. So for you specifically, you want to notice as you were listening to last week's episode. So if you haven't already, go back and give it a listen. What thoughts came up in your mind specifically and write them out? Or maybe there were more feelings. Maybe you started to feel a little panicky or you felt fearful or anxious. Write those out and start to take a moment to pause and get into your body and inquire why you're feeling those certain ways. And know that nothing has gone wrong. You're not alone here. There's no reason to shame yourself for feeling or thinking the way that you do. It's part of the process. We all go through this. I myself still go through a lot of those on a weekly basis, trying to make sure. Sometimes my brain will offer me that I don't have time to create all my reels and stories and be engaging with everyone. Sometimes my brain will offer me, well, who am I to say this? Because I only have 9,000 followers, not a few 100,000 followers. Or my brain will like to offer me, like, what about what will so and so think? So I go through this myself, even at my level of where I am, having an audience and converting an audience and making multiple six figures online. So know that this work is ongoing. As you evolve, what you feel in your body will evolve, as well as the frequency of what you're thinking will reduce, and you'll have the ability to shift out of these thoughts and feelings that could actually cause you to freeze or not do any of the strategies or not, you know, view Instagram as an experiment where you can go out there and post a reel and try it some way and have it flop and not make it mean something about yourself that's terrible. Just realizing that part of the journey for social media or any marketing tactic is going to be experimentation, trial and error, figuring out what works for you, what lights you up, how can you stay consistent, and what does your audience need to hear to hit that follow button and then eventually, subscribe or book that consult or pay. What does your audience need to hear? So in this episode, we're going to go over some of these common mindset issues. We're going to go over the consequences if you allow them to stall and not stall you in showing up consistently on Instagram. We're going to go over what the solution is to overcome these mindset issues, not just sweeping them under the rug or shaming yourself for having them or resisting them. We're going to uncover what you can do so you feel them less intensely, and are able to shift your energy sooner. And we're going to go over some philosophies and strategies on how to do that, some client stories, my own stories that will help inspire you so you realize that you're not the only one and there's different ways to go about it. It's going to look a little bit different for each person. And then we'll talk about what it can look like when you actually achieve this work, when you start showing up consistently, what that can get for you. And this works even if you don't have a ton of time. So, yes, Instagram will take time, but you get to dictate how much time a week that is. For me, it can be anywhere from the actual content creation of the reels can take about 90 minutes to 2 hours. And then if I want a week, and then if I want to create additional bonus reels, so like right now I'm offering a masterclass coming up soon and some Black Friday specials, and I'm launching the Instagram message makeover clinic. There's a lot going on. So I want to create some bonus reels and materials to engage my audience a bit more, grow it a little bit quicker during this time. So I might add another hour for bonus content, bonus reels, maybe posting more than once a day. So currently I post once a day, sometimes twice a day if I'm repurposing an email or something like that. But when I say bonus content, I actually mean so I can post 2 times a day, not every day, but a few times during the week, as well as maybe another extra story sequence or two during the week as well. And I also leave about a half hour a day to actually post the content. Now, on weekends, a lot of the times I'll schedule that out because my priority is to spend time with family, unless I feel like it's an appropriate time where I can just take 20 minutes to post and engage a bit. And that is why I take about a half hour to post daily, is because I do like to engage with my audience. I go into hashtags, I meet new people who's a large portion of them come back and follow me. I also am researching what goes viral, what my audience is wanting to hear, so I can create my own style of content of replicating that virality. So all in all, it's probably about 3 to 4 hours a week on Instagram. And I think that's very reasonable. I'm for a full-time business owner, and I am pretty much full-time online. And I get to use the platform for free, and I create more than 6 figures from Instagram. I sign a lot of clients that who pay thousands of dollars to work with me. So I think that is a totally reasonable, even if I were to spend some weeks 5 hours on Instagram, and then with the time posting 4 to 6, 5 to 7 hours a week, for what I get in return in terms of knowledge, audience growth, signing clients, totally reasonable. Now, I use Instagram strategy, as you know, with master classes, webinars, and workshops. So I often tag team the two strategies together. And I teach my clients who work with me both in my one-to-one the Instagram strategy, which I will also be teaching in my message makeover clinic, as well as the workshop strategy, which my clients get in the Awaken Business Coaching, the 100K Awaken Business Coaching program. So I pair them together. But to make this whole system work for me, I have to have the mindset to see it through and to keep going and carve out to the time to do this even if I'm not seeing results, even if the audience isn't engaging the way I would like, even if I have reels flop, I have to go all in on my belief that I have what it takes, that I'll eventually learn what my audience needs to hear in terms of content to hit follow and then eventually buy. Okay, let's define what the main mindset problems are. These are the most common ones. They're not all of them, but the most common one. As I hinted, one is time. Now, again, you don't have to spend 5 to 7 hours a week on Instagram. If you're able to spend 1 to 2 hours a week on Instagram, you'll still get benefit and you'll still get growth. The key is to show up consistently. So you get to define the amount of hours. So the first one is often a time mindset, which we kind of overcame just a little bit, but we'll get into deeper strategy in just a moment. And the next one is imposter syndrome. Many wellness experts and professionals and practitioners feel that they're not good enough to be online leaders. So they show up hesitant to share their expertise. Maybe they're fearful of getting criticized by their peers, or they're just afraid that people won't like what they have to say or resonate what they have to say, that they're not part of, kind of that cool kid mentality or group where they have the potential to go viral because they just don't have what it takes to do that, which is not true. It's just a skill. Other people have a fear of criticism, worrying about negative comments or judgment, and that can cause inconsistency and reluctance in posting. So you're posting here or there, or there's a lot of perfection or even people pleasing going on in your mind when you're creating content. So instead of creating like a week's worth of content in 90 minutes, it takes you a full hour to create one reel because you're looking at it from every angle to make sure that you're not going to get criticized for that, or someone's not is going to be angry that you said or posted a reel in such a way. The other type of mindset issue is just doubts and self-sabotage. So second guessing your capabilities, which can paralyze you from showing up at all, which negatively impacts your business growth and revenue. So for example, I'll give you a real life scenario. My client Katie came to me with about a couple thousand followers on Instagram. And as I was looking at her content, she didn't post too much in during when she first came to me. It was I just noticed she had a couple posts about when she went out of town on vacation. So they were more personal style posts, but they actually did well. They had a lot of likes and engagements, which told me she had a warm, loyal, supportive audience, whether they were clients or friends and family. There were people in her audience that really supported her and did like her content. But then as I scrolled down, I noticed that her reels weren't getting a ton of engagement or views. And then the messaging wasn't as consistent as it could be. The frequency of how much she was posting wasn't as frequent as it could be, especially for her knowledge and expertise. After I talked with her on the consultation call and in the first a couple sessions, I could tell right away that she is very experienced in what she does. She has a wealth of knowledge. She even has written a book. So she's been in doing this entrepreneurship journey and teaching and practicing wellness and yoga and helping people with their nervous system and trauma for a while. So I know that the potential for her to really grow the audience on Instagram, because she's very committed, very knowledgeable, it was there. So we just had to land upon what was actually holding her back from not showing up consistently. And what I found in our first couple calls was that she had done a lot of market research. She actually knew her audience quite well. She had all kinds of tables and graphs saying a percentage of her audience likes this type of content on boundaries. Another part of her audience struggles with time management. So she had a lot of information on the demographics of their audience and what they're struggling with and what they really desire. But the problem is she kept telling me that she felt confused upon her niche, who she's talking to, and her messaging. And that was a lot because she had hired a marketing agency that utilized this research that she had to create posts for her, more of a done for you style of content. And they flopped. And she had a couple of retreats that didn't fill. And so she was feeling quite stuck when she first came to me. So her mindset issues were more around doubting that she would land upon clarity and write the words that needed to be said that would resonate with her ideal clients. She felt like she couldn't get the information out of these researched tables and demographics of the audience and create them into compelling reels that would both help to grow her audience and convert her audience. And now, if you don't have all that demographic research that Katie did, that's okay. I have ways that you can help to find that out. And sometimes just by posting content and seeing how it lands, then you learn what your audience wants to hear. So for Katie, what we worked on was I teach my clients the 7 S's, which is the combination of using different types of focuses for messaging in combination with your core teaching pillars to craft a table on where the messaging could be more specific for each of her ideal clients using that market research. So instead of having her topics feel so broad that she didn't feel like she was really speaking to one person in specific, and which was creating a lot of confusion for her, we dialed it in to each reel or post that she was making was speaking to one specific struggle or desire that someone wanted to create. And through trial and error of posting a lot of reels, she actually found that her audience really loved to hear a lot about boundaries, boundary setting, and it opened the floodgates for Katie in terms of her created creativity. She showed up to one call and told me she had just created 50 reels. So then she could start posting more than once a day. And her reel views went from a few hundred, like two, three, maybe a five or 600 or 700. She did have a couple that go viral, but that wasn't so much the norms. To now consistently 1,000, 3,000. She even had one go viral, and 10,000 plus views. So, so for Katie, when she got connected to her audience and understood how to take the information of what she knew about her audience, what they were struggling with, what they actually desired, and could be more specific to it and speak to one person each reel, then the creativity came and she was able to create a lot of content in a short amount of time. Then which led to testing. So then she could dial in on what worked. So that is what is possible for you when you overcome and get past the imposter syndrome, the fear of criticism, doubt, self-sabotage, or thinking that you just don't have the time. It is waste of time to be on Instagram because you're mostly a brick and mortar clinic, which is not true. So let's talk about how to shift from all those mindset hurdles to now feeling energized, feeling creative, feeling connected to your audience, feeling in service of your audience, certain that you can help people, certain that you will figure out the messaging that your audience wants to hear, confident that you are a skilled practitioner and have the ability to help people. Those are some of the feelings that I cycle through and will shift whenever I feel those mindset hurdles or issues or blocks come up. I'm able to shift more into those types of feelings and emotions. So it really takes self awareness in the moment. If you block out time in your calendar, for example, an hour to create content, and you find yourself utilizing the whole hour to create one piece of content versus a couple, or you reschedule that time to another day. You keep kicking the can down the road, so to speak, and blocking off time, but then using that time for something else. Self awareness is huge because when you're aware of what you're doing, then you see how, okay, now I know why I'm not showing up consistently on Instagram. I'm rescheduling, or I'm taking too long, or I'm just sitting there freezing, spinning in confusion on what to say. So it's first understanding why you're doing it. And then when you understand that, it's writing it down and acknowledging exactly where, what you're feeling in your body and where, and the thoughts that are associated with that. So then you can understand, all right, well, is this actually an appropriate thought or feeling for the moment? It might be, maybe you're saying something a little bit edgy or controversial on Instagram. Then it's normal to feel a little fearful of criticism or doubts because you're not sure how your audience responds. That's a warranted thoughts and thinking. So, how can you support yourself to be vulnerable and courageous to show up and post that and feel that way and still take action and actually do it instead of allowing it to sit in your draft inbox forever, not fully completed, not ever seeing the light of day? How can you support yourself? What do you need to develop the courage to hit post and still be vulnerable and know that, okay, if it flops, well, what are you going to make that mean about yourself? For myself, if I have a reel that flopped, I used to, kind of beat myself up over that, thinking, oh, they don't resonate with what you have to say. I'll never kind of be cool enough for virality. I'm not connecting with my audience. I made it mean all these things when really it was just a messaging issue. I just didn't have the words or the format of the reel or a compelling hook or a visual that really compelled the audience to watch the reel all the way through, or read the caption, or click send to a friend, or click follow. That's all it is. It wasn't anything personal to me. Or maybe, there are a few people on Instagram who don't like me or don't like what I have to say, and it is personal, but that's okay. That's more rare than most people either resonate or not. And it's just simply because the words didn't resonate or the visual didn't resonate. So for me, it's becoming aware of that and then being able to shift back into, okay, well, that flopped. I can kind of laugh at myself about that. Or I can send it in for feedback to any of my masterminds and, ask them and get feedback on, why did it flop? And then when I usually have the criteria of what didn't land and why, then I make it less personal against me and just more about the content where I can then refine it and then try again. Uh, so what do you need to feel to create a cycle, a positive feedback loop to just view Instagram as an experimentation, as a way to connect and be creative. How can you shift the energy in your body or the thoughts and feelings so that you can show up confidently and still hold a space for a little bit of vulnerability as well, because you don't have a crystal ball and you don't know how each piece of content will land. In fact, I've had reels where I thought they were going to flop and they actually did well, and vice versa. So, the best place to start is small. Set a realistic, a conservative amount of time that you know you can realistically put into your schedule each week. Most of my clients can do an hour or 2 hours. They can fit that in for both creation, posting, and engaging. And then notice what comes up when you try to do it. Is it more of a problem with the time? Is it a mindset issue about the time? Why? Or are you freezing because of confusion, like my client Katie, not knowing what to say? Or are you self sabotaging or experiencing fear of criticism or judgment? What is it for you and why? Then also write down, how do you want to feel when you're posting? For me, again, I want to feel creative. I want to feel connected to my audience. I want to feel in place of service. So I get excited to post now because sometimes I really have fun creating goofy GIFs and images. And sometimes I'm really excited with the value that I'm going to share. Like I feel excited to help someone make their day easier or give them an insight or a win. So, what do you need to think to create those feelings for yourself so you can show up feeling more vulnerable, knowing that, oh, okay, if it does flop, well, maybe I still reached one person today and that's what they needed to hear. And then just start ripping the band aid off, get out there. And it's better to just post than try to perfect it in terms of following the framework that I went over last week or any of the strategies. If that feels too much, like thinking of which format to post in terms of a reel, or which should you post growth or conversion. Just get out there and post and see what lands. Then over time, you can add in these nuances. Like for me, a nuance is okay, if I'm going to post a more conversion style of a post, so people sign up for my webinar or book a consultation call with me, then later in the day, I might post a growth style. So it keeps the momentum going in my audience. That's a nuance, it's a layer. You don't have to do it all at once. It's best to just start somewhere. Remember, I've got over 3,000 posts on Instagram. That is a lot of trial and error through the years. So just start somewhere. Don't let go of the strategy, let go of perfecting the framework for your caption or even a goal of attachment of what you want at the end of the reel. Just get out there and do it in a way that allows you to feel connected with your audience and serve your audience. And then from there, you can refine it. And then each time you feel frozen or stuck or find yourself rescheduling time that you was meant for Instagram, write down why, what you're feeling and why. And then you can work on shifting it, knowing that you might get criticized at some point. Not everyone, you can't please everyone all the time. You will fail. You will have content that flops. That doesn't mean that you can't grow your audience or sign clients off Instagram. Everyone's going to have content that flops at some point. So what do you want to feel instead? And how do you want to support yourself during that time? And then eventually, it can be like my client, Sarah, who's more than doubled her audience and signed several clients off of Instagram because she kept refining and she eventually found a format for the style of reel, as well as the style of caption and delivering value that works for her audience. And then it just became rinse and repeat where she could do it, and it gets easier and faster and more reliable where she knows if she posts, she's both going to grow her audience and convert some of that audience into clients. And that allows you to, when you have so much control and power over your business, where you know you can create online clients, you can grow a six-figure plus online wellness business, which takes a lot of pressure off your brick and mortar if you're doing that, or in teaching in-person yoga classes, or maybe you're working for a job, a clinic of some sort. It gives you power to know that you can reliably create revenue and sign clients off of Instagram so you can build your savings and then eventually leave your job or go full time in your business or scale into multiple six figures. So that's what I have for you today. Of course, if you want to get signed up for the upcoming masterclass, the Instagram message makeover masterclass, if you show up live, you get a free Instagram audit from me. I will also do some content breakdowns right there live so you can have personal feedback from me on your bio or a reel so you can learn right there for refinement. And then we'll go deeper into all of this in January 2025, February 2025, in the 8-week Instagram message makeover clinic, where I'm taking my clients. If you're one-to-one working with me in January and February of next year, you get this for free. You can also purchase it as a standalone for $1,200. Then I will take you through each of these steps of both the strategy to grow your audience, the strategy to convert the audience, how to overcome tech hangups, how to find the time, and these mindset issues. You'll get personal feedback from me as well as a supportive community to keep you going. So if you want to find out if you're a good fit to work together in either of the containers, the one-to-one or the message clinic makeover, in the group format, then you can just book your free consultation call with me to get started now here at the end of the year. So you start to clean this up and get momentum. So 2025 is a different year for you. All right. I'll see you next week. Bye for now.